from the campus of Westfield State University. This is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:01. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, Pete Coles. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning.
So, what's going on in there? What happened? Windows update? Is that
the dreaded Windows update? It goes. It needs to reboot.
Oh, okay. So you don't know that you just walk in and there's a thing on your computer that's on your screen that says you can't do what you want to do right now.
Well,
you gotta wait.
The only problem is if you don't do the Windows update reboot, sometimes, especially with video, it'll cause issues.
Yeah.
And you don't know when that's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. So you're better off just getting the reboot.
Yep.
Yeah.
I understand. No, I totally get it. So, yeah, it was awfully quiet when I came in this morning, and I thought, oh, boy, what's going on? Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So, Pete, haircut? Do we have
yes.
Yeah, I thought so. Well, you don't have your baseball cap on either. So,
right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So I went was going to do...
Getting ready for the summer?
I was going to do buzz cut, and then I was rushing yesterday afternoon at lunch when I went home to grab lunch because I do my own haircuts.
Oh,
and so I forgot to put the guide on it, and I just was like, oh, well, I'll just buzz it off for the summer. It'll go completely off.
Yeah.
It grows fast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know. Your hair grows super fast and super thick. It's the jealousy of all the women that know you, Pete. It's like he's got this beautiful...
It's starting to thin on top and just grow on the sides. Yeah. But my dad had a full head of hair, so I'll count that as like, all right, I'm good.
Absolutely. So how was your weekend, Pete?
Worked. What else did I do this weekend? Did I go somewhere? I can't remember. It's just been crazy.
I know. It seems like, Well, and I'm sure you're getting ready for the air show. That's coming up.
That's causing me sleepless nights. Yes.
I understand. Yep. A lot of sleepless nights by a lot of city employees these days, Pete, is my take on everything.
Right. Yeah. And I there's other forces going on, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay.
I'm just trying to, whatever.
Get it all together. I understand.
Because there's last minute things we're built. Yeah. In the meantime, we're taking the old rack, moving equipment and adding equipment to a new rack, getting that prepped, getting that started. I was here on Saturday. Well, it was part of what I did. Yeah. After I left Mahoyoke on Saturday, I was here wiring up the rack because Kenny was in Williamsburg, Virginia with the show choir.
Oh, wow.
Doing a documentary on their whole thing, and they won a crap load of awards.
Well,
they won like 6 awards.
I kind of heard. So, do you know, like, what that was all? So, this was obviously a competition?
Yeah, I think it was like a regionals or nationals or something.
Okay. Nice.
And they did very well, and I guess the band was in Hershey, Pennsylvania for their competition.
Oh, okay.
And they won several awards, too, so they did pretty well.
Oh, we're really proud of the Westfield High School Music Department, I guess we'll collaboratively call it that.
Mm-hmm.
So I, Pete, this weekend did run Westfield because, we knew that I was going to do that. And so I had a little mishap, little bit before the
I heard
the finish line. I think what happened, one of my pet peeves about this race, and I have to talk to the powers that be. My pet peeve is the start time. It's a 1 o'clock in the afternoon start time, which is a horrible time, in my opinion, to start a road race. Especially, I mean, it's okay if it's January or February or even March. But once you start getting into the warmer weather, it's like the warmest part of the day. And I think, not that it was hot by any stretch of the imagination, but there is virtually no shade along Western Avenue at that time of the afternoon. And you're running on pavement. You're running on black macadam. And I think, and I was very careful before the race. I had a good breakfast. I was drinking my water before the race. I think it dehydrated a bit. And then I never could find the mile 2 marker. And, it was funny because they had a water station set up at right around mile 2. And, initially I thought, well, it's a 3-mile race. I mean, I usually I go out for a 5 or 6 mile run and I don't drink any water until I get back. So, but I got to tell you, by the time I got to mile 2, my mouth was so dry. I thought, okay, I'm grabbing a water. So that was fine. Grabbed a water, wet my whistle, had some sips and so forth. I think so. So what happened was by the time I got down to like the courthouse, and I think that Kelly Pease, Representative Pease I think he was at the courthouse. I remember with
by the courthouse, by the
City Hall. By the City Hall, not the courthouse, by City Hall, I'm sorry. And I think that and Don Humison was with him. I remember, kind of waving to those two guys, but by then I was feeling not great. And then I went down a little bit further, and my daughter Grace was there with us, the crew from the animal hospital, because one of the veterinarians was running. And it turned out she was like right in front of me, which I didn't know because I didn't know what she looked like. And then Gary was at the Athenaeum before you came around the corner, which is where I asked them to be. I said, once you round the corner, you can see the finish line. It's like it's kind of forever. The first time I ran it, I thought, oh, you're going to come around the corner and the finish line is right there, but it's not. You still have a little ways to go. So I said, so if you guys are on Court Street, that would be great. So they were all cheering for me. And Gary said when I went by him, I was pretty bent over. And Gary thought I had like a cramp, like a stitch. And usually what I do is I'll bend over, run for a little while and then kind of catch my breath and get rid of the stitch and stand up. Well, I never really, and it really wasn't that. I didn't have a stitch. I think I was just starting to lose it. So I went around that corner, and by the time, I guess the incident actually happened in front of Fast Feet.
You don't remember it?
You know what, well, the only reason I know, I remember it. But what happened, Pete, was I just felt myself, the best word to use is crumple. I could feel my legs giving out, and it had nothing to do with, the strength in my legs or anything. I'd been running, so it wasn't that, but I could just feel myself. I didn't feel like I was going to black out, which was good. But I could feel myself going down. I knew I could see the finish line. And part of the thing was I was way ahead of my time. So my time was really good for where I am in my current running, what I'm doing currently.
Okay.
Not the best time I've ever had, but for right now and for the amount of running I've done, it was really good, probably too good. And that was I think part of what happened was I couldn't see the 2-mile marker. I never saw that. When I hit the 1-mile marker, I was right on my pace. I just wanted to do a 10-mile pace. And I was at 10:05 when I hit the mile marker. So I thought, great, right on pace, good. But, then you get caught up in it. You start running, you kind of start having somebody pace you and you're following people and you don't realize how fast you're going. So when I got to the 2-mile mark, I was so intent on finding the water, which I did. I missed the mile mark. I don't exactly know where it was, so I didn't know what my pace was. I think I came in at too fast a pace, and I would have slowed myself down, but I didn't know that, so I didn't. And I just crumpled. And I went down, and I heard somebody behind me say, "Are you okay?" And I started to get up, and my hands, I think, were still on the ground. And I went down again. It was like I couldn't get my feet underneath me. And that's when I hit my chin. So I've got this really nice black and blue mark on my chin. Geez. Yeah. Oh, this looks, I look like this morning, I'm looking at myself in the mirror going, oh my God, I look 1,000% better than I have for the last couple of days. I am healing. Yeah, absolutely.
That's good.
I was really nervous because, of course, I put my hands down to break the fall. And my right wrist, I wasn't sure if I broke it, but I didn't. I mean, it swelled, but I could move it. I had full range of motion. It was painful,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and so the second time I went, it was when I hit my chin. I felt my chin bounce. My baseball cap went flying off. I heard a woman behind me say, "I have your hat." and there was a guy behind me, and he just pulled me up. And once he pulled me up, and I got up on my feet again, and I was upright, I kind of jogged in the rest of it because, I was like, there is no way I'm not going to finish this race.
Sure, yeah.
So, and my time was good, even with the fall. So I was happy about that. I still did it in under 29 minutes. So I wanted a 10-minute mile pace. I did a 9:20 pace, even with the fall in there, which probably took about 30 seconds. So I was happy with that, but pretty banged up and pretty ugly. Well, then the funny thing is that Gary and Grace didn't see me go down, so they didn't know what happened. So of course, Gary comes around the corner. Well, I grabbed my water at the finish line and I just kept walking. I wanted to get away from the crowd, away from the music. I needed to sit down, and I was looking for some shade. That was the biggest thing. And so I went around, and I went onto Franklin Street, and I just grabbed. There was a doorway. I don't know whether it was the Nook or wherever I was, but it was in the shade. It was quiet, so I sat down. I drank my water for about 10 minutes. And then I kind of wandered back, and of course, Gary was looking for me, and there was a friend of ours that works at Fast Feet. So Gary was out there kind of like, well, where the heck is she? And he came out and he said to Gary, Tina fell. He said, and that's the only reason I knew what happened in front of Fast Feet, because he goes, I'm standing right here. It happened right in front of, so I don't know, it was probably 15 yards from the finish line. And as it turned out, who was standing right there and saw the whole thing but didn't realize it was me because I had a cap on was Barbara Coleman.
Oh, geez.
So when Gary said, oh, my gosh, Tina fell, Barbara whipped around. It's like, that was Tina? Oh, my gosh, we saw this lady fall, and we didn't know, and she really went down hard. And but I am okay. Nothing was broken. The ego was a little embarrassed there, but, but.
Did you take Sunday off at least?
I did. I went to the senior center for a little while and just did I kind of paced myself, just did a little desk work. And
I'm going to come up there and give you a slap upside the head.
Yeah. It was, and Gary, actually, I was only there for a couple hours, and Gary and I just went for a kind of a stroll. We went up to Ashley Reservoir, because I really, Pete, I just really wanted to keep moving because I was afraid I would just really, stiffen up if I didn't. So I did some stretches, and we just did an easy walk. We didn't run or anything. We just did a nice stroll around Ashley Reservoir. It was really nice because it was a beautiful day on Sunday. And then just really chilled out, watched TV on Sunday night, kind of took it easy. My concern was Monday, because it's usually a couple days later. And I woke up, Monday morning, and Grace and Gary were cracking up, of course, because I look so much better right now. I mean, all of the sort of surface abrasions are, healing, they're drying up, and my chin, because what happened was this just spread and got darker and darker.
Sure,
It looked like I had a beard. My whole chin was all bruised up. And, so my family, of course, with the humor, Gary's like, well, let's have our family picture done this week. And, Grace was like, we can do the picture for the Christmas card. The funny thing is after the whole thing was over, and of course, before I was bruised up and everything, but right after the race, Fred Gore got a picture of Gary and Grace and me. Which, again, I was a little, that was just more the surface abrasions.
You didn't see the big bruise.
You didn't see the bruises didn't start till the next day. So, but we did get over to the Renova building. We saw Bob Plass and Kathy Bradford. So we did get to go in. I kind of did a once around, and there just weren't a whole lot of familiar faces. We had some different runners this year.
I heard there were a lot of runners.
There were total. There were 635, I think, something like that, which for post-pandemic, I think is a lot. But, I went back and checked my bib numbers because I keep all my bib numbers from my races, and I just put my time, and that way I can kind of go back and see the history of how I did and, what place I was in and everything. Do you know that, Pete, there were years there were 1,300 runners in that race?
Yeah,
so it seems like a lot for right now, but for those of us who have been running it for a lot of years, it was, I was kind of like, where is everybody?
Well, also, wasn't it at one point pre-Boston Marathon?
Yes. Well, the first year they did it was in March. And yes, that was pre-Boston Marathon. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Because that's when they had some runners from the Boston Marathon and stuff like that come up here and do as a warm-up.
Yep. And then they've kind of switched the day around. I think they've settled on the first Saturday in May. I think this is where it stays now. But I would love to see them change the time. I mean, and I know why they do it, because they want to do the end of the block party thing at the end. But as Gary pointed out, people who like to party and drink beer and so forth. They'll do that if you start the race at 10 in the morning. They'll do that at 11 or noon. They don't have to wait until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's it's not like you're doing it at 8 in the morning. But if they started the race at 10, I think it would be that would be or do it later in the day. I've run some 4 o'clock in the afternoon ones too that are you're starting to get a little shady. So that would be my 2 cents. But anyway,
so you're going to come over and visit this weekend?
I don't know. I'm going to try. I know Grace and I have some mother-daughter things that we need to accomplish on Sunday together. We have a big wedding that we're going to, a big family wedding a week from Friday.
Good,
so we have some stuff that we're getting ready. And so I'm going to try. I had texted Joe Mitchell from the race for, when I was warming up, and I said, "Are you running?" Because I didn't, I thought, well, I didn't see him.
Right.
But anyway, he was in Boston. His youngest was graduating from Northeastern.
Yep, saw the pictures.
But he did say he was going to be at the air show. So he said, hangar number, whatever it is, come on in, so we'll see. I don't know that one. The jury's out on that one.
We will be at the airport building, but the building is technically closed. So if you need to get in, just message me.
I will text you if we get
they're closing the building for the weekend.
Okay.
But we have been offered the patio for Tobacco to do our broadcast.
Oh, that's great, Pete.
It's going to work out better. I mean, I like to be with the Air Boss.
Okay.
But they changed the layout of where the press and the Air Boss and stuff is.
Okay.
Due to the show layout, so it just works out better being there. That's not the ideal spot. It's a good spot for us because we're near.
Yeah.
Data and power and whatever facilities, but. It's not the most ideal spot. So, we're going to be there. It's going to be nice.
Yeah.
And we're not going to be overwhelmed by the public. So that's helpful to, because,
is.
Rob Goff is still having lingering health issues from COVID and when he had all the kinds of other after effects from that.
Yep.
So he can't walk long distance. He's like, I need a golf. If I'm going to do this, I need a golf cart. He goes, there's no other way to do this. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
He says, well, if I could park in the parking lot at the airport, then that's easy. I can do that. So
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, good for him.
Just, and trying to find help on Mother's Day is just.
I know. And
right now, I think it's me, Kenny, Rob, and Lynn O'Brien are going to be there.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. It was like, there's a lot going on.
I got help on Saturday.
So.
And I think that's going to be the busy day.
Yeah, I think so too.
Busier day.
I think so too. And do you know weather-wise?
Weather looks really good.
Does it
actually.
Look good?
It's been improving.
Okay.
Down to like partly cloudy and not even. It started at like a 20% chance of showers.
Okay.
But it's been improving greatly. So right now I think it's down to almost nothing.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Both days.
Wonderful.
So
Because I wasn't sure
they
kept saying that through Friday it's going to be gorgeous, and then I kept thinking, well, what's it? Nobody was talking about Saturday and Sunday, and I thought, well, what's going on this weekend?
Yeah,
so
the rain chances are less than 20%.
Oh, that's great. Perfect.
With light winds, so that
perfect.
80 high tops out at 80 for a high on Saturday and 71 for a high on Sunday.
And Pete, what time is the show on both days? Do you have this?
So parking lots open at 7, gates open at 8, flying starts at 10. There will be tons of static displays. Flying will finish around 3 o'clock. They're figuring.
Okay. On both days, the times
both
are
days,
the same.
Yeah.
Both days.
Times are the same.
Well, in order to, in honor of the air show this weekend over at Barnes Airport, we have to do a couple of air songs. So we're going to take a break.
I was thinking the second one. Have you seen Top Gun Maverick yet? Have you watched it?
Yes.
I was thinking about pulling a soundtrack song from that.
Okay. All right, that sounds fine. Yeah, that's perfect. All right, so let's take a break. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. So we're going to go with the first song on the first one. Okay, so I love this. It's an old-fashioned song from an old-fashioned movie, but it's called Those Magnificent Men and Their Flying Machines. This is in honor of the air show coming up this weekend at Barnes Airport. We'll be back.
Those magnificent men in their flying machine, they go up to the up, they go down to the down. They enchant all the ladies and steal all the scenes with their up to the up, and then down to the down. Up, down, flying around, looping the loop and defying the ground. Newton would think he had made a mistake to see those young men and the chances they take. Those magnificent men in their flying machines, they go up to the up, they go down to the down. They enchant all the ladies and steal all the scenes with their up to the up, and their down to the down. Up, down, flying around, looping the loop and defying the ground. They're all frightfully keen, those magnificent men in their flying machine. Those magnificent men in their flying machine, they go up to the up, they go down to the down. Those magnificent men, those magnificent men, those magnificent men in their flying machine.
Underwriting for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield, serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m., go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here.
Join me, Tina Gorman, each week from 6 to 8 a.m. for Wake Up Wednesday, when my guests and I discuss health, wellness, and lifestyle reimagined.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:22. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
All right, so we have the air show coming up on this
Saturday
weekend.
and Sunday.
Now,
Friday is a full dress rehearsal.
Really?
And the airport building is
no.
open, and the deck will be open to the public.
Really?
We're going to broadcast on Friday as well.
Okay.
Starting as soon as we finish regular programming at 10.
Okay.
We're going to pick up live broadcasting up there at 10. That gives us a good chance to, kind of do a tech rehearsal for ourselves and figure out the remote cameras and all that good stuff.
Do you know when they're going to be dress rehearsing on Friday?
Same thing, 10 to 3.
Oh, so that's
So
perfect.
it's a full.
So
the guys get their timing on the daytime and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that while we're out there doing our curbside lunches, we may get to see a little bit of the show.
Yes, you should.
Yeah, we should be able to see. Which I have to say, we are like little kids at the senior center when those jets start flying over and we're outside doing lunches. Like everything stops. The seniors, like the line of cars, everybody stops. They're all looking out their window. Mary Lou and I are distributing lunches. We all stop. Barbara Martone, everybody stops. We're all looking. We're waving. We're having a day old time. We're like little kids.
I don't know what the order is, but the temporary flight restriction puts a bubble around 5 miles out from the airport.
Okay.
And 10 miles up.
Okay.
So it's like a bubble.
Okay. You're right.
So you guys you're in the TFR, so that means you're part of the performances. So
Yeah.
there's all kinds of stuff going on. I think the headliner is going to be the F-15s as a double ship formation, and then the F-35.
Yeah. Yes.
Our new plane.
The new one. Yeah.
So somebody
It's
said
exciting.
a couple of them the demo team came in early so that the air crews can start looking at it.
Okay.
Take a kind of peek around.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be fun and exciting, and I'm glad that the weather is going to be good for us. So perfect.
Yep.
All right. So today is May 10th. It is Third Shift Workers Day. So we need to talk about that because
Been there, done that.
Yeah, exactly.
Twice.
Pete, this one's for you. Each year, National Third Shift Workers Day on the second Wednesday in May recognizes the workers who face the night to keep businesses running, hospitals staffed, and streets safe. Many businesses require 24-hour attention, whether it's a manufacturing facility in high demand or a processing plant that requires an overnight cleaning or cycle change. Businesses function as efficiently as possible. However, not all third shifts are in businesses. Hospitals, first responders, and nursing homes work 24 hours a day, too. Metropolitan areas of any size have employees working overnight to ensure the safety and reliability of water, power, and other infrastructure. The day honors all third shift workers, whether they rotate in and out of the shift or not. Regardless of their duties, the time of day they are performed can make life unusual and sometimes difficult, let's face it. It recognizes their sacrifices, often missing special occasions and even everyday events because they sleep while the rest of the world functions on a 9-to-5 schedule. And when they do attend meetings, celebrations, and other events, they are often sleep deprived. Many third shift workers choose to work the hours because their spouse works the opposite shift, making it possible for a parent to always be home with the children, or the choice is so they can care for a loved one who is ill. Of course, other reasons are that it is the nature of the profession that they choose. And I think sometimes, I remember working with somebody who had worked 3 to 11 in one of the nursing homes that I was working at when Gary was going to chiropractic school and we were out in Iowa. And she had worked that shift enough so that, she had enough seniority and they were going to move her to the 7 to 3 shift. And she was not sure about that because she said the schedule that she and her husband had were kind of opposite schedules. They actually did not have any children, but she said their marriage for so many years was kind of based on limited togetherness, and they had that kind of scheduled in. They had like their sort of date night when the two of them, like sometime in the middle of the week. It was just, she said it's an odd schedule, but she said when you really kind of build your life around that and that becomes your routine, she had a lot of reservations. She ended up changing and she ended up adjusting, and she and her husband did fine with it. But it was an interesting take because I always assume, you'd want the earlier shift because I'm a morning person. Yep. So 7 to 3 for me would be awesome.
Twice in my career I've worked the third shift.
Have you?
I worked Channel 40. I worked the third shift, and when I was young, I worked at ShopRite third shift doing the floors while they were stocking shelves.
Yep. And it's so funny. It's such a different. I remember talking to somebody who
I think I've worked shift on police department too, occasionally, but not a lot.
Yeah. Well, you've done. Have you had to ever do it at Mount Holyoke, Pete, where you did like an
I did
overnight? You've done
2 weeks
right?
ago.
Yeah.
Or last weekend I did an overnight. It blew. I worked a 3 to 11 and then 11 to 7.
Yeah.
It was just straight through, and that's tough. That one's tough.
That is really tough.
Like I don't mind working 11 to 7, then 7 to 3.
Yeah.
That's easier.
Yeah.
Because you're getting out in the daylight, and you're getting out in the daylight too. But it's just tough. That second back half on the overnight is tough.
Yeah, and I think I think this is really true that a lot of us don't think about what that's like because we're so in tune to like that 9 to 5 kind of thing, or daytime, working during the daytime. So, hats off to all of our third shift workers because. They in many ways are the unsung heroes. Okay, and you know what? It's a great time to take a break now that we've done this because we have a song. Oh no, which song am I on? No, I'm on the wrong song. Or do you have one from Maverick?
Yeah, 1 second though. I'm loading up something here.
Okay, that's all right. That's
Give
okay.
Give me 1 second.
That's okay. Take your time. So, but I'll do a little intro because I don't know.
I
which
have
one
a scene from the movie too.
Oh, okay. All right. So Pete and I are talking about, for those of you who are Top Gun fans, and my family happens to be like Top Gun addicted. When that movie came out, it's one of those movies where we pretty much know every line of the movie because we've seen it like a zillion times.
Yep.
So when Top Gun Maverick came out, which was late in coming out because of the pandemic, it was scheduled to come out, I think, the year earlier.
Yep.
But anyway, we watched that up in Maine with my brother and sister-in-law, and and we had a blast. It was a great movie. It was a lot of fun.
And I'm all ready to go.
Okay, and Pete is all ready to go. So in honor, I was going to do Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins as the next song, but Pete said, that which was from Top Gun. But hey, let's bring it into 2023 and we'll do a number from Top Gun Maverick. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses on WCPC Cable Channel 15. So in honor of the air show coming up at Barnes Airport this Saturday and Sunday with dress rehearsal on Friday from Top Gun Maverick.
I want them on the road to North Island within the hour. North Island, sir? Call came in with impeccable timing, right as I was driving here to ground your ass once and for all. It galls me to say it, but for reasons known only to the Almighty and your guardian angel, you've been called back to Top Gun. Sir, you are dismissed, Captain. The end is inevitable, Maverick. Your kind is headed for extinction.
Maybe so, sir. But not today.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday at 8 a.m. for Arts Beat, where you'll meet interesting actors, directors, designers, and musicians here in Western New England.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:34. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning. You almost think I prepped that one.
I love that scene, and I love that line. That line really struck me today for a whole number of reasons, but maybe so, sir, but not today.
Right, exactly.
Love that.
You know, I love music scores.
Yes,
so like back in the day, I bought the Star Trek Next Generation season 2, 1 and 2 music scores. I bought that album right off the bat because it was like the music score is so good. And then the other album I bought that lately that I've seen is Star Trek Picard, the third and final season of that show.
Yep.
They scored it like a movie.
Oh, that's great.
And the score is just unbelievable.
Yeah,
There's like
that's great.
so many callbacks, and just there was the same thing in Maverick.
Yes.
There was, they rescored it, but there was callbacks.
Yep.
And just those little phrases and stuff that you knew exactly what it was.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I was like, I love that.
Well, it's funny because Gary has been trying to get Grace to watch that with us for months. Yeah. And she keeps saying no. And I think it's because, he'll say, you're kind of having a bad day. Let's watch it. Cause we have a large screen TV downstairs. We got the pub going and everything. And I think the real reason she doesn't want to do, I think she wants to kind of like save it, like for that time when she really feels like she needs to get pumped up. And,
I watched it again by myself.
Yeah. I think Gary is really gung-ho. And now that I've seen that clip, I'm like, all right, I'm ready to watch it again. I am absolutely ready. We thoroughly enjoyed it. I saw really thoroughly. I know you saw it in the movies.
Right, I saw it in the movie theaters by myself.
Yeah, you went to. Did you go to MGM to watch that?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that when it first came out. And I thought
because I was like, all right, I want to see it. I'll go see it with my girlfriend if she wants to go see it, but I want to see it by myself just to soak it in.
Yep.
Without any distractions, just sit there and just vegetate and watch it.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is what I did.
Yeah. It was a great flick.
Oh, it was awesome in the movie theater.
Yeah, it was perfect.
I have a good sound bar at home in my bedroom. So if you want to, we watch a movie in the bedroom and tilt the beds up. And with the sound bar, it's really good. Too. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that, Pete. That was really special. That scene, and I'm thinking, I've only seen it once, so I don't remember all the different scenes.
That music piece was the setting for that going back to Top Gun.
To the original, yep, exactly.
Right. And I kind of got the sync almost perfect on it.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah.
That was just good. Thanks, Pete. That was fun. That was a treat. All right. Well, and speaking of, you know what? That was creative. May is Creative Beginnings Month. So this just fits right in because Pete was just absolutely creative right there. Creative spontaneity, which I love.
Right.
If it's been a while since you've been creative, the month of May is the month devoted to you to energize yourself and enrich your life with a creative beginning. Perhaps this is the time to learn to play a new instrument, enroll in a cooking class, or start a new craft project. The possibilities are endless. While there are lots of makers out there who are fortunate enough to use their creativity daily and actually earn a living, the majority of us see creative projects as a hobby or luxury and sometimes tend to let life get in the way. If you identify with the latter, why not use this month as a challenge to nurture your creative spirit and enjoy dreaming up and creating something new? The creative process can enhance other areas of your life as well as boost your self-esteem, knowing that you have learned a new skill or completed a project. Everything we see around us is the result of a creative idea that eventually materialized. By the way, like this studio, I remember Pete talking about, when we were up at the college, talking about a TV studio, and we're going to set this up at Westfield Tech. And I thought, really, but how's that going to happen? How's that going to work? And here we are. That it was a creative idea.
And trying to get ahead of the media curve too, because we're starting to see that on the network level now.
Absolutely. So a lot of people tend to think that creativity is not for them or is only restricted to artistic spheres. However, that is far from the truth. Creativity is all around us. It exists in the fields of science, art, technology, sports, you name it. We have to use our creative minds for almost every act that we perform. Oftentimes, the hardest part is getting started. And that's so true about so many things in life. It's like, I want to start eating better. I want to start, being more fit. I want to start, learning an instrument. I want to start learning a foreign language. And it's just, sometimes it's just getting started. One easy way to come up with a creative project idea is to sit down and quickly jot down a list of all the creative things that you would like to do or you would like to learn how to do. And then just select one project idea from your list to get you started. So, some people have like this big laundry list. Mm-hmm. Just, take your list and narrow it down and say, okay, well, what's, maybe you started a project a long time ago and it, ended up, that happens with a lot of my crafters. My seniors will say, well, I started this craft project and then life got in the way. Dig it out of the bottom of the closet because, that sometimes you'll finish that and say, hey, this is great,
I still have a video series that we did live during the pandemic and I still want to finish the series.
Okay.
And whittle the shows down to where I did about 13 of them.
Okay.
And I think I still have 7 or 8 more waiting to be edited.
Yeah.
I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking about taking a week off. and just sit
just
at home.
Be at it like a staycation, but just like get some of these projects done and and kind of have some fun with it.
Because I think I have some vacation time left.
Yeah. Well, I know I said that.
And it's hard for me to take vacation time because I'm cranking out so much programming every week.
I know. And you know what it is too, Pete? Like I find like right now, I just sent an email to the mayor because he wants to meet with me. And this is really funny. He sent me an email yesterday and he goes, "We really need to meet face to face." I said, "Well, it's ironic that you use that phrase this week, considering what my face looks like." So I told him about it, and he sent me an email back. He's like, "Ouch!" But anyway, I told him. I said, "Well, I have a little flexibility today and tomorrow, but forget about Friday because what's happening now is all of my staff is realizing they have vacation time that they have to use by June 30th. So I don't know that I'm going to have anybody here on any Friday between now and June 30th because, hey, what the heck? Make a long weekend, and I don't blame them."
I was looking to that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I thought, well, I'm not going to be able to do that because so I might look at maybe some Mondays because most of my folks are taking Fridays off. So
that might be easier for you anyways.
It might be. So anyway, I came up with some creative ideas for the senior center for people who frequent the senior center. So we have the Do Re Mi Singers choral group, and they're always looking for new singers. We have a Write from the Heart, and it's WRITE, Write from the Heart writing group that Donna Herman facilitates, and that's become quite popular. That group is just about ready to celebrate their 1-year anniversary. We have our Peacemakers, PIECE makers quilting group. They meet on Friday mornings, and that's they work on their own projects, but it's almost like a support group. They help each other out with ideas, and we have some fabric and things like that in there that people can use. We have our Sassy Stitchers group. They meet on Wednesday mornings, usually starting anytime between 8:30 and 9 o'clock in the morning, and they wander in and out. They usually go till about 11:30 or 12. And again, it's knit, crochet. If you've never done it, they'll teach you how. They're really a nice group of women and men. We've had some men in there as well. So our Sassy Stitchers group. Of course, on Thursday afternoons, we have our Art Unlimited class, our Art Unlimited group, actually, we're calling it. And that is facilitated by Elaine Lees, who is a retired art instructor from the schools here in Westfield. Again, we have all levels of artists, so you don't have to have ever done anything. And as Elaine said, she loves those people who say, "Oh, I can't do art." It's like, come on in. We're gonna get you started here. We've had card making sessions, greeting card making sessions at the Senior Center. And in the fall, we'll go back to, we're really excited, we'll have our senior theater back with Steve Henderson. So lots of ways, at least at the Senior Center, to be creative. So, feel free to join us doing that.
I'll be right back. Oh, you want to take the break?
You want to take a break
I'm going to
now?
have your guy move a little bit. He's kind of in between two buses. So
okay. All right. No worries. All right. So we are going to do Night Shift by the Commodores. That's in honor of National Third Shift Workers Day. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. We'll be back.
coming down on the night shift. I bet you're singing proud. Oh, I bet you pull a crowd. Gonna be a long night. It's gonna be alright on the night shift. You found another home. I know you're not alone on the night shift. Oh, you found another home. I know you're not alone on the night shift. Jackie, hear what you're doing now. It seems like yesterday when we were working out. Jackie, oh, you set the world on fire. You came and gifted us your love, it lifted us higher and higher. Keep it up, and we'll be there at your side. Oh, say you will sing your songs forevermore, evermore, evermore. Gonna be some sweet sounds coming down on the night shift. I bet you're singing proud. Oh, I bet you pull a crowd. Gonna be a long night, alright on the night shift. You found another home. I know you're not alone on the night shift. Gonna be some sweet sounds going down on the night shift. Oh, on the night shift. I bet you're singing proud. Oh, you're singing proud. Oh, I bet you pull a crowd. Oh, yeah. Gonna be a long night. It's gonna be alright on the night shift. On the night shift. You found another home. I know you're not alone.
Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours.
Join us every Thursday morning.
From 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show.
Right here on WSKB 89.5.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:49. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, Pete Coles, who's been kind of running in and out because we have some guests coming for second hour, and Pete's kind of getting everybody settled over there. So today is May 10th. It is National School Nurse Day. On October 1, 1902, the first school nurse, Linda Richards, was employed to prevent absenteeism by consulting with children and families regarding health care requirements related to infectious diseases. She led the adoption of evidence-based nursing practice across the city after a month of effective nursing operations in the New York City schools. Since then, school nurses have continued to control infectious diseases, but their function has grown and become more diverse. And of course, following this latest pandemic, it's become even more diverse. The health of a student is inextricably linked to their ability to learn. Unaddressed healthcare needs make it difficult for children to participate in the learning system. The school nurse helps students succeed by providing health care to all students in the school context through examination, treatment, and follow-up. The school nurse helps children with their physical, psychological, emotional, and social health requirements, as well as their academic success. According to the National Survey of Children with Special Health Care Needs, 11.2 million children in the United States are at risk of developing persistent physical, cognitive, social, or emotional problems. These students may require school-based health assistance, which school nurses can provide. National School Nurse Day has been observed since 1972 to honor school nurses. National School Nurse Day was created to raise awareness about the importance of school nurses in the educational setting. And I have to tell you, school nurses today are a whole heck of a lot different than they were in the 1960s when I was a kid, and you'd go to the school nurse when somebody fell and, that kind of thing. I mean, they are dispensing medications for students. They're dealing with family issues, students with, disabilities, students with chronic illnesses. I mean, it's mind-boggling. And, then you get into, especially at the high school level, I have a friend who's a school nurse at a very, very large, huge, like thousands of students at a vocational school in the eastern part of the state. And I don't know, there are something like 3 or 4 or 5 school nurses, but their days are like our days, Pete. I mean, they just keep going. So we are honoring the school nurses today. We are also honoring today receptionists. It is National Receptionist Day. Each year, National Receptionist Day on the second Wednesday in May gives recognition to receptionists and the valuable contributions they make to the companies where they work. Receptionists are responsible for providing an excellent first impression to all customers in person and on the telephone. Their customer service skills play a vital role in each company's image. Not only do receptionists often serve as a company's first impression, but they often maintain invoices, organize office maintenance, and keep an inventory of supplies. Since they are the first person most visitors see, they often serve as the first point of security and safety, controlling the flow of who enters and leaves the office. Many receptionists serve in multiple roles. They may be the one source for the company's human resources, assisting with benefits, new hires, and disability claims. They may occasionally serve as an administrative assistant when needed. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there are more than 1 million receptionists in the United States. So I will tell you why I think receptionists are so important. I totally agree. They make the first impression. So you walk into someplace and that's, if somebody is friendly and, they can, and especially in like a medical care setting, they can really put people's mind at ease. So I think that's super important. But I also had an experience. I had to contact a director at another area senior center yesterday, and the senior center will remain unnamed. But I actually did the call, today's Wednesday. So Monday afternoon, I was trying to get a hold of the director, and she did call me back yesterday. But there was no one answering the phone, and this was like in the middle of the day. So you get the robo thing, and and the weird thing was, it's that my options were either, if you're calling to order a meal, press 1, and if you're calling for transportation, press 2, and if you're calling to talk to a staff, leave a message. But there was no. So I was leaving a message on a general message board. It wasn't even, if you want to talk to the director, press this, or the case manager, press that. And I was not a fan of the system because I really wasn't, because I thought, I'm trying to get to the director. If I were in trouble and I needed to get to the social worker, I'm just leaving a message at, with whoever. I don't know who.
You're right.
And for an older adult, I think there should be a better system. I personally, and my staff, luckily my staff that I work with right now, because we're all old fashioned, we really feel like when you're calling a senior center during business hours, I'm not talking about off hours or on the weekends, you should be able to talk to a person, because a lot of times there has to be some back and forth so we can sort out what exactly is your need and who exactly do you need to talk to. Because the other problem is when you set it up where it's just a robo thing and you've got a computer answering the phone, and you don't know who you need to talk to. You know, you don't know what category your problem falls into. So you choose somebody, and it could be, you know, the wrong person who, you know, might be on vacation for a week. So I'm a big fan of let's have somebody answering the phone for our seniors, and we do that in Westfield. So we do it right. So before I go any further, Pete, I have to tell you, so I had some, you know, I have my whole laundry list here of senior center announcements, but we really have to talk about the fact that on Channel 15 this month, we have borrowed, thank you to Agawam, because we have borrowed a segment from their Applause series. This was in honor of Cinco de Mayo. I kind of did it in, so it's a mariachi band, right?
Yep.
And that performance, you can tune in on Channel 15 on Wednesday afternoons at 2:40 and Saturday evenings at 6 o'clock. So last Wednesday was the first time that we played this mariachi band. It's about an hour concert performance that was done at the Agawam Senior Center, and they filmed it, and we have borrowed it from them. So thank you to Agawam. To the Cultural Council, the Agawam Cultural Council, who had paid for that. So thank you so much for that. It's part of what they call their Applause series. So we aired it last Wednesday, Pete, at what, like 2:40 is when we start the airing.
I think so, yeah.
At about 20 after 3 last Wednesday afternoon, the phone rings. My principal clerk, Carol, picks it up. And I hear this, you know, pretty lively exchange because I'm in the office next door. So she hangs up and she comes into my office. She said, "You have to hear this." So I said, "Okay, what's up?" She goes, "Well, a woman just called," and she was not familiar to us. We didn't recognize the name, so not a regular at the senior center. She said, "I called to tell you that I have Channel 15 on, and I'm watching the mariachi band, and I'm in my kitchen dancing with my walker, right?" So so Carol goes, "Oh, that's great. I'm really glad you're enjoying it." She goes, "And I'm 96 years old." And Carol's like, "Oh my gosh." Carol goes, "Please be careful.
Yeah, don't throw on a hip.
Don't fall. Don't break a hip." But what is that? A great story or what?
Yes.
So I was on my virtual meeting with the other area directors on Friday afternoon. We do it the first Friday of the month, and Mike Squindo, who's the director of the senior center in Agawam, was on the call. I said, "Mike, you gotta hear this story." I said, "This is just a great story about your Applause sister, your series, which was done at your senior center." And I said that punchline of, "And I'm 96 years old," because I heard Carol saying, "Oh my goodness, please be careful, have fun, but, please be careful with your walker dancing in the kitchen." So anyway, apparently it is a great concert. Coming from our 96-year-old viewer, who I hope is watching us this morning and listening to the story, whoever you might be. So that is on,
That's too funny.
Yeah, it is. It's really great. And we were talking about this at the Council on Aging Board of Directors meeting this week. And I said, we have worked really hard. And I really, last week we had our volunteer recognition breakfast. We thanked all of our volunteers. So I'm a big one on thanking people for a job well done. And Pete, publicly, and I've said it before, but I absolutely have to thank you. I think the programming that we've really settled on is just top notch. And so we have, we're updating our fitness classes.
Yep.
And by the way, Pete, this is really funny. You'll appreciate this story too, as the media specialist for the city. So, when we wanted to update Carol Palmer's Totally Fun fitness class at the senior center,
Yep.
and that was a little bit of a, Carol was like, she threw it out to her class, and well, I don't want to be on film, I don't want to be seen on TV, and blah blah blah. But we got a group together, and they all had a good time, right?
Yeah.
So, so we did that one, and then of course we have the new Get Fit Toolkit, which is the fitness class that the students from Westfield State did. And by the way, Pete, phenomenal job editing that. And I'm assuming
Did you like the music?
You added the music.
Yes, I did.
You did a fantastic job.
I figured this needed music.
It absolutely needed music, and you did a fabulous job. So thank you for that. But I have to tell you, so Friday morning is line dancing. The line dancers are at the senior center every Friday from 10 to 11:30. So I said to them, I happen to be coming in from distributing lunch on Friday, and Clara Sanborn, who is the leader of the group, was leaving with some of the other, there were probably 5 or 6 of them all leaving at the same time. So I said to her, I said, oh, Clara, I said, Pete and I were talking about it, and we really want to update the line dancing segment. I said, so what we want to do is, Pete wants to come in here. We'll film it. We'll do one of your classes because it would be really great to be able to just film the whole class, doing line dancing. And Clara said, oh, that would be great. Well, now here are 5 or 6 of the line dancers. Here's the difference between the Totally Fun Fitness. The line dancers are like, hey, we're going to be on TV, everybody, okay? They're like, they are totally ready, Pete.
I think once the Totally Fun Fitness crew sees themselves and knows really not that big of a deal, they'll be like, oh, yeah, we can do that again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's, it's like anything else. It's like the guests we get on this show. The first time they're on, it's like, oh, I don't know. And then, then we do it. And it's like, when can I come back?
Right, because we have 2 people who are nervous in the hallway.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go settle them down. We're going to take a break. It's 7:01. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. We'll be back in just a few.
Underwriting for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield, serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m., go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays, 8 to 10.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:04. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, Pete Coles. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning.
So this is a day that is near and dear to my heart. May 10th is National Clean Your Room Day.
Don't tell that to me.
Okay, here you go. So with the I love this, and I have a little history for you and everything. So with the exception of people who are born organized neat freaks,
I'm definitely not.
We can all admit our rooms can get chaotic from time to time. And yes, even my office sometimes, I when it gets really bad, I say it looks like a flea market. To the delight of parents and more polished family and friends, May 10th is National Clean Your Room Day. Research into the holiday doesn't reveal who founded it, but for those of us who may need it, or have family, friends, and roommates who do, it's nice to have a holiday that reminds us to get our act together, starting with our rooms. So here's your National Clean Your Room Day timeline. In 2800 BC, soap is first used by Babylonians to clean pots and pans. 0 AD, various religious practice cleaning rituals become important holidays. The 1800s, spring cleaning originates from having to clean homes during spring because using fireplaces and rudimentary heaters during winter would leave homes with a layer of soot. So that makes sense. So that's how spring cleaning was born. The 1870s, a farmer in Iowa invents the feather duster by taking turkey feathers to a factory and requesting that they make a brush out of it. May of 2010, although the creator of this day of cleanliness is unknown, one of the earliest blog posts about this day is written. Oh, I just realized, Pete, that's what I can do when I retire. I can do a blog on cleaning and decluttering. Okay, so make sure. So here are some guidelines for today for getting your room clean. So if you're a kid, make sure your parents also clean their room. You know, children and teenagers are usually the culprits of messy rooms, but some kids have messy parents. And even if they aren't messy, it's fun watching parents complain about doing chores, just like we all complain about it. You can even help your parents decide which old items of theirs they should throw out or donate. Here's another idea to help make it a little bit on the fun side: redecorate your room. So if you think about cleaning as a boring chore, then make a plan for how you could redecorate your room as you clean it. You know, maybe you could rearrange the furniture a little bit, maybe add some plants or a couple of posters, or you could decide if there's a theme you'd like for your room. Plus, you can give yourself an incentive. That would give you an incentive to keep your room clean long after May 10th. My daughter Grace decided a long time ago that her theme in her room is she loves the beach. So when you can't get to the beach, you bring the beach to your room. So she has kind of a beach theme, and she made like a flip-flop wreath, and she's got all kinds of beach stuff in there. And it kind of does feel like a little bit like the Cape when you go in there. All right, you can also celebrate your cleanliness. So once you're finished cleaning, go out and celebrate your clean room. Maybe you can go out for ice cream or get yourself something nice or get a new accessory that can shine in your clean space. So maybe get something for your clean room. So there you have it. National Clean Your Room Day. Get to it. All right, a couple of announcements. First of all, next Wednesday, because Wednesday should be, Wednesday, May 17th at 7:30 at night, the Greater Westfield Community Band will be doing their annual concert at Westfield High School, 177 Montgomery Road. This is directed by Patrick Kennedy and Will Cho. Admission is free. It is handicap accessible. Bring a friend and enjoy the music. So that's Wednesday. It's a week from today. It's 7:30 in the evening. And, you know, it's staying lighter out later. So that's the Greater Westfield Community Band. And we'll make that announcement again next week just to remind people. I also want to let folks know that the Stanley Park 2023 Gardens, Music, Art, Education brochure is out. We have these at the Senior Center. These are fabulous. Like, I use these for my radio show, like, throughout the summer, because this has everything. It's got all the special events going on, the summer concert series, the children's concert series. You know, it's really exciting because I feel like we're back on track now. You know, I started with this way back when Dan Kanapic and I did this show for the first time that first summer. I got a hold of one of these. So every week I would kind of do the announcement on what the concert was, the upcoming concert for the weekend, the kids thing, the Friday mornings for children, and so forth. So lots of things going on. There's Zumba in the park now. They have, and it's in the brochure, they're starting their, they do like walks in the park, I think on Thursday morning. mornings. That'll be starting soon. But there's usually somebody that has some experience, and it's almost like an educational walk. So all kinds of things going on at Stanley Park. Take advantage. Vicki Connor is the new director over there. She's fabulous.
Yep.
Westfield stole her from West Springfield. Good for Westfield. You got it. All right. Also, reminder that the chess group, which meets on Wednesday afternoons at the Senior Center, they meet from 1 to 3. They're always looking for new players. We have set up this really cool-looking chess set that Sandra Fisher's father apparently made when he was in Turkey. It's like a ceramic set. And they lived in Turkey. He had been in the military. She set it up at the front desk. I'm telling you, she could sell swampland in Florida. She can sell anything to anybody. She was trying to get, because we were talking about, the chess players would really like some more people in there. So she set up this chess set, and she actually set it up and put a sign that said "Make a move." And do you know, we have people that are going by going, "Oh," and they're like making a move. We have people coming up to the desk going, "Oh, I haven't played chess in like 40 years," and they're in there, they're back and they're playing. Les Hutton facilitates that group, and he will. If you've never played chess, they'll teach you how. If you haven't played it in a long time, they'll re-educate you.
There you go.
And if you're an experienced chess player, there are other experienced players. It is my favorite group, I have to say. I mean, because they are quiet. They don't complain about anything. They go in there. We provide chess sets. Some bring their own, but we also have them. And they meet in the Creativity Center, and they close the door. And for 2 hours, they're just all about the chess game. So join them. All right, and one last announcement before we take a break and I bring my guests in. We are taking sign-ups starting next week, I believe. Yes, starting on May 16th, we'll start taking reservations for our Mother's Day All-American Curbside Extravaganza. It's going to be great. It's all-American, so on the menu is meatloaf, mashed potatoes, gravy, and for dessert, we're having apple pie a la mode because you can't get much more all-American than that.
Yep.
We will be snaking you through the parking lot, and we will have, back by popular demand, Richie Mitnick and Dave Colucci out on the patio outside performing as you snake your way, We had so much fun doing this last year. We did it in June. We had a Happy Everything June. We had the mayor there. We had a ball. We had people getting out of their cars and dancing. We were selling 50-50 raffle tickets because we have the month-long 50-50 raffle going on that the Friends group is doing. So you can get your raffle tickets, by the way. That would be a nice Mother's Day gift. So grab it's $1 a ticket or 6 for $5. And it's a month-long 50-50. So at the end of the month, whatever we've collected, we'll divide it in half. Last year, the winner got $350.
Nice.
So yeah, it was a nice, and this year we're shooting for, Sandra's shooting for 1,000. So that means the winner would get 500. And we're going to have some other prizes too. So it's not just the one big prize. We'll have some gift cards as well. So get your, stop by. That's a fun gift for Mother's Day, and it supports the Friends group.
Yep.
All right. It is 7:13. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. And let me get my cheat sheet out so I know what song we're doing. Oh, yeah. So this is in honor of Creative Beginnings Month. I found this song by Paul Simon. I had never heard the song before, but I really like it. It's called Rewrite. It's about him, writing, whether it's a song or a play. I don't remember now.
Yep.
But anyway, it's really cool. The lyrics are great. And we will be back with some guests from Bay State Noble Hospital.
I've been working on my rewrite, that's right. I'm gonna change the ending. Gonna throw away my title and toss it in the trash. Every minute after midnight, all the time I'm spending, it's just for working on my rewrite, that's right. I'm gonna turn it into cash. I've been working at the car wash. I consider it my day job, 'cause it's really not a paid job, but that's where I am. Everybody says the old guy working at the car wash. Hasn't got a brain cell left since Vietnam. But I say, help me, help me, help me, help me. Thank you. I had no idea that you were there. When I said, help me, help me, help me, help me. Well, thank you for listening to my prayer. I'm working on a rewrite, that's right. I'm gonna change the ending. Gonna throw away my title and toss it in the trash. Every minute after midnight, all the time I'm spending is just for working on a rewrite, that's right. I'm gonna turn it into cash. I'll eliminate the pages where the father has a breakdown and he has to leave the family, but he really meant no harm. I'm gonna substitute a car chase and a race across the rooftops when the father saves the children and he holds them in his arms. And I say, help me, help me, help me, help me. Thank you. I had no idea that you were there. When I said, help me, help me, help me, help me. Whoa, thank you for listening to my prayer. Working on my rewrite.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday at 8 a.m. for ArtSpeak, where you'll meet interesting actors, directors, designers, and musicians here in Western New England.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:18. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. And as you can see, we have added some people to the group since we took this break. Pete Coles is behind the glass, as he always is. My guests this morning are from Bay State Noble Hospital. And we have, now I want to get this right. So it's Michelle LaPrade. Is that right? Michelle?
That's correct.
Michelle LaPrade, volunteer coordinator with Bay State Noble Hospital. And our own Dr. Frank Horrigan, who is a volunteer with Bay State Noble Hospital. So welcome to both of you here. We're excited. I'm excited to have you here because I know there was a time when, I feel like we're all emerging from this pandemic. And, Pete and I hate to use the phrase like life is getting back to normal, but I feel like whatever the new normal is, but I feel like there are some things that seem a little bit more normal than they were, 3 years ago. Let's put it that way. Because one of the things that the hospital had to do, as the senior center had to do, was, kind of not use volunteers for a while we figured everything out. So I'm going to start with you, Michelle, and I'm going to have you, because this is your first time on the show, so welcome.
Thank you.
And, usually what we do is we start with just a little background about people, kind of a little bit about yourself. Are you from this area? Did you grow up here? Did you move here? Do you have a family? What do you like to do for a hobby? And how did you end up at Bay State Noble Hospital? So start wherever you want to start.
Thank you, Tina, and thank you for having us
You're
today.
very welcome.
Really appreciate it. Well, I've been with Bay State Health for almost 17 years now. Actually,
wow.
Started out as an office coordinator and moved up to being in an executive assistant role for many years for several different vice presidents in the organization. And I got to a point in my career where I decided it was time for a change. And that I've done everything that I can do in this particular role. And so I would like to take my years of experience and my skills and be able to apply them someplace else. And it so happened that a volunteer coordinator position came up for Bay State Medical Center and for Wing Hospital out in Palmer.
Okay.
And I looked at the description and said, wow, this is perfect. This is what I want to do. And it's utilizing all of my skills and my experience being at Bay State for so long.
Yeah.
And it also spoke to me personally as something that I know that I could feel like that I'm giving back because Bay State Health has given so much to me. And I felt this would be a really great opportunity to be able to give back myself, to be able to bring in amazing people into the organization, to be able to help support our staff, but most importantly, to help take care of our patients and their families. And so I was in the position for about a year, working at Bay State Medical Center, and we were bringing back the program out at Wing Hospital. And the opportunity came up for the volunteer coordinator position for Bay State Noble Hospital. And my husband and I and my stepson had moved to Westfield about 6 years ago. And so...
well, that was a match made in heaven.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely a match. The commute is wonderful. But I also find that, and I found this with Wing Hospital, that the staff and the community are just so warm and so welcoming.
Nice.
And that's exactly what I felt when I came here, and it was January of this year.
Okay, so that was what I was going to ask. That I was like,
yes.
Okay, so when did you make that transition? So
yes.
Just about 4 or 5 months ago.
It was.
Perfect.
It was. And so stepping into the role here just felt so comfortable, and I felt so welcomed that I just started to really enjoy the work that I was doing, really enjoy helping to recruit and bring amazing people into our hospital to help to provide services and do different roles in the hospital that not only helps to take care of the patients, but also helps to support the staff and even do things behind the scenes that eventually is helping to support our patients and our staff.
Right.
And so, yes, I've been here since January. It's been a wonderful whirlwind of getting to know so many people, jumping in and getting things moving forward again. And it has been a slow process, I would say, since the pandemic. And so we are building up, and more so, we're bringing the program back up fully. We are, I am talking with different managers about roles that we can create to bring volunteers into their departments to to bring that extra, what I'd like to call level of care and support.
Extra boost.
Yes.
I think, one of the things about coordinating volunteers, and we do it at the senior center as well, is that, there's the recruitment piece, so you're recruiting people, but the other piece of it is what are you recruiting them to do? And that, that becomes, and there are a lot of different ways to do that. And we're going to talk to Dr. Horgan in just a minute, who's volunteering at both of our organizations. So he was a wonderful choice. It was really funny because she gave me Michelle had given me your first name, because I said, well, who's the volunteer? And she said something about Frank. And so I said, well, okay, I'm going to need Frank's last name when I do the introduction. Right after I sent that email, I said, I bet she's talking about Frank Horgan. And so I said that to her. I said, are you talking about Frank Horgan? So I said, well, we know him. He volunteers at the senior center as well in our companion program. So let's shift over to you, Dr. Horgan, and let's talk about, obviously you are a physician, retired physician. What kind of physician were you? What kind of work did you do?
Well, when I came to Westfield in '76, I did internal medicine and gastroenterology.
Okay.
And practiced at different levels for until the turn of the century, when I went over to the dark side and became an administrator.
Oh dear.
And practiced as medical director at Noble for 10 years, and did some work with the VNA and hospice. And
yep.
Retired from that and went into volunteer work.
And how long ago now has it been that you retired?
Probably 6-7 years.
Yeah. So now I'm feeling old because I can remember when you retired. And to me, if you had asked me that, I would have said, it was a couple years ago, 2-3 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, it
was. And so as soon as it was really right after retirement, right? You started volunteering right out of the gate. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And it's been a wonderful experience because over the years I've seen an evolution in the sense that patients are now part of the healthcare team. Everybody's working together.
Yes.
And the patients are a part of that. We instruct them, we teach them.
Yep.
And they make choices based on their goals and value systems and so forth.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. And part of the volunteering is recognizing that and trying to facilitate their entry into the system.
Mm-hmm.
When they come into the hospital, that is probably the last place on earth they want to be.
Right.
And one of my jobs as a volunteer is to greet them, make them feel more at ease, and to guide them into the system.
Yep.
So that they can have a less frightening experience.
Yeah, there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of angst
Absolutely.
with, whether whether you come in through the emergency department or whether you just, come in, even if it's just for a procedure, there's just anxiety there.
Yes.
And, it's really interesting that you talk about the patient being part of the team. I have Dr. Lovelace is on the show once a month. He does a segment on the show with me. And we have had that conversation. And I agree with you, Dr. Horgan, because in the old days, like back when I was a kid, I mean, you weren't even allowed to look at your chart. You went in to see a doctor. Your chart was in a manila folder. It was like on the outside of the door, and you were on the inside of this thing, and you didn't know what your chart said, and there were certain questions that you weren't really thinking that you were even allowed to ask. I can remember them when they used to take your blood pressure and your weight. That was like a secret. They would write it down over here. Like they didn't,
right.
And then one time I said to him, well, what's my blood pressure? And the first time I asked, it was kind of like, I think the nurse was like, she wasn't sure if she was allowed to tell me, but it's so different now,
Yes.
Now they'll tell you things and your lab reports. And, again, you would go in and they would draw blood. You never knew what the result was unless it was something horrible. And then you get a phone call saying, well, you need to come in and see us but we didn't know. So now you get reports and you go home with discharge papers that tell you all these things. And it tells you if this is in the normal range or not in the normal range or something to be looked at or concerned about or whatever. So I think that's really different and especially for are older adults who are patients because they're old-fashioned. They remember the old-fashioned days where, you know, you don't ask any questions. The doctor knows everything, you know, and now you're right. You're part of a team, but you're right. Like as a volunteer, you've got to help to facilitate that so that people are aware, right? I think
Well, they come in the door and, you know, they're looking around and then what?
Yes.
And so we have to ease their way into the system.
And it does help to bring down that, just a little bit of that anxiety and that little bit of stress, to be able to give them directions to where they need to go. We also, patients that need to be transported via wheelchair, we're able to take them to their departments and bring them back. And when you are dealing with so much, it's just nice to have somebody there to kind of hold your hand and help ease you in to where you need to go. It's one less thing that you don't have to think about.
Right.
And I remember one time that I was headed to a meeting and this older lady was looking at the directory on the wall. Staring at it like, oh my gosh, I don't know. And so I walked up to her and I said, ma'am, can I help you? My name's Michelle. I am a volunteer coordinator here. And she said, oh my goodness, yes, thank you. She said, I'm trying to see my daughter and I just don't, I don't know where to go.
Right, exactly.
And so I was able to escort her to where she needed to go, and just the relief on her face to have somebody help her was tremendous.
Yeah,
really
absolutely. Well, and then, you know, you get on those darn hospital elevators and they have two different doors, and now you're going, I don't know. Am I supposed to have this side or is it on that side? And if I get out over here, am I going to be wandering into a place I'm not supposed to be in? And there's a lot of it. And, you know, Bay State Noble is a pretty small hospital, relatively speaking, but, you know, you get into...
But still,
it's confusing for people. So, you know, you got to figure if you've got a family member who's there to visit a daughter or whatever, well, you're already feeling anxiety because your loved one is in the hospital. And if they're in the hospital, there's a reason for it, and it's usually not a great reason. So, all right, let's take a break. My guests this morning, if you're just joining us, are Michelle LaPrade, who is the volunteer coordinator at Bay State Noble Hospital, and Dr. Frank Horrigan, retired physician, who is also a volunteer at Bay State Noble Hospital. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. So today is, as we mentioned before, National School Nurse Day, and in honor of our school nurses, we're going to listen to I'll Be There For You by the Moffats. We'll be back.
Looking like you're lost and lonely. It isn't easy when you're
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at Rockies.com.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday. Every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:36. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. I'm in the studio this morning with Pete Coles behind the glass, and our guests this morning are from Bay State Noble Hospital. We have Michelle LaPrade, who is the volunteer coordinator, and Dr. Frank Horrigan, who is a volunteer, former physician, internist over at the hospital. So welcome again to both of you. Thank you. Happy to have you here. It's exciting to be talking about volunteer opportunities when for a few years there were none. You know, everybody was so isolated and sheltering in place, et cetera. So, Michelle, why don't we talk about that a little bit? What happened to the volunteer program during the pandemic? Because it was different.
Yes, absolutely. And we made the decision to put the volunteer program on pause because we needed to make sure that we were keeping our volunteers safe.
Yeah.
And so that's for, a few years. We all had to patiently wait until we got to a point in the pandemic that the numbers started coming down and that we felt that it was finally safe for our volunteers to be able to come back into the hospital. And so that's what we're working on right now is the return of our volunteers to the hospital. I'm making phone calls out to some of our volunteers that were here pre-pandemic. Yes, exactly. Okay. And talking with them about having them come back in. But I'm also right now actively recruiting in the community and also in the surrounding towns that Bay State Noble Hospital also services.
Sure. Yep, you've got the hill towns, you've got Southwick, you've got, a little west, a little east. Well, here's some good news because we were in the same boat at the senior center. Things were kind of paused. We were doing a lot by phone and keeping in touch with people that way. But during the pandemic, we did have people definitely who took early retirement. A lot of people who, planned to work another year or two, and then the pandemic hit, and they said, okay, forget it. And so they retired. And now we are getting some of those people as volunteers saying, well, I wasn't really ready to retire, but it didn't make sense to stay in my job during the pandemic. And now I'm bored because during the pandemic, I cleaned all my closets, painted all the rooms that I wanted to do, planted the garden. So that's all great. And now I'm ready to do something else. So we've gotten some really great volunteers who, are raring to go. So hopefully you'll have that same experience. So my question to you, Michelle, because I'm sure we have viewers and listeners that are thinking, okay, well, that sounds like maybe something that I would want to do. What are the types of roles that volunteers do at Bay State Noble Hospital right now? And I know that you're trying to expand those roles, but right now, what would somebody like Dr. Horrigan be doing?
Well, I have to say volunteers individually have many different reasons for why they would like to come in and volunteer. They would like to give back to their community. They've had a loved one in the hospital that has received outstanding care, or themselves have come in and have received outstanding care. And then there are people who are bored and would like something to do, but sometimes it also brings purpose into their lives.
Absolutely.
And so we have one of our very important roles as our greeters and wayfinders that we talked about earlier, and helping to ease that anxiety. And
so those are the people, when people walk in that front
into the
door,
lobby,
they're the people in the red jackets.
They're the people in the red jackets. We have red polos that we also wear. I am working on a role for our surgical center to have a greeter wayfinder in our surgical center to, again, help our patients and families check in and then get them to where they need to go. We're working on that role right now. We have two wonderful volunteers right now that are doing pet therapy. They both have golden retrievers that they bring into the hospital. So we'd love to have some more people come in. If they have a dog that has been certified for pet training, we'd love to bring them in. We also have our spiritual services program, and we have volunteers that do come in, and they go up into the inpatient units, our rehab unit, and they go in and they will just sit and talk with the patients if they would like, pray with the patients if they would like that, and just provide some spiritual well-being to them. So that's another area that we are trying to ramp back up, and we are actually looking for chaplains or pastors that would also like to volunteer to come into the hospital. But we also have what we call our patient experience visitor volunteer, and they are on the in-units, and they are coming in and providing that extra level of care and compassion, and also supporting the staff, because there are times when the clinical staff just doesn't have the time to be able to bring a patient a blanket, or if they're allowed to have a glass of water or a snack, to go get those for the patient. And we also have what's called a comfort cart with activities for the patients on it, and personal care items. Excuse me.
That's fine. Yep. Well, and one of the things that I also wanted to ask, because this is going to go out of my head for the 8th time because I've thought about it. If someone wants to volunteer, and let's say that they volunteer, they do what Dr. Horgan does as a greeter, do you have how does the schedule work with that, Michelle? I mean, do you say to somebody, we need you to commit for, 4 hours a week, 10 hours a week, 2 hours a week, or do they decide, or who decides on what the schedule is? How does that work?
So our guideline really is that we ask for minimally a 6-month commitment.
Okay.
3 to 4 hours a week.
Okay.
Of course, we'll keep you forever if you let us. And yay. And if you would like to do more than just 1 day a week, I have a couple of volunteers I'm bringing on board right now that are going to be in the emergency room, and they're giving us 2 days a week, 3 hours each day. So absolutely would love to, even if it's 3 to 4 hours a week, that is just so generous and so wonderful that you can give us, some of your precious time to come in and help. And being a community hospital, we need that support from our community. Yeah. And so we want to continue to bring the high quality care that we are bringing in the hospital, and our volunteers are a vital part of our hospital and in bringing that care.
I just wanted to comment, because you were talking about as a community hospital, and I'm sure, Frank, that you have this experience of, because it's a community hospital, because it's Westfield, and I feel like everybody knows everybody in Westfield. I mean, I can't go over to that hospital to either visit somebody or even just like for a mammogram or whatever without seeing like 6 people that I know. Usually Frank's the one that's at the door. So it's, so already. And then there are other of the volunteers that I know that either work in my tax work-off program or work in our companion program, or just, people that I know, seniors that I know. One time I was I was in line, and I think they were doing our temperature or whatever, and all of a sudden there's a guy behind me. Well, it was Dr. Milotti. I'm like, Gopal and I we go back way back, and he's like, Tina, what are you doing? I'm like, what are you doing here? So, I think that's one of the pluses too of volunteering. If you like that sort of, you're going to run into people that and that there's sort of that connection. And that can really, I think, ease people's angst as well. When you see a familiar face, it's like, what do you do? Why volunteer here? Oh my gosh, well, I'm having surgery, my husband's having surgery, or whatever. You're automatically going to feel, I think, just a sense of relief, sort of that sigh of a little bit more comfortable. So
absolutely.
All right, it is 7:46. We're going to take a break, and then I want to bring Frank back in to talk a little bit about how this experience has been for you over the last several years that you've been doing this since retirement. So you're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. And again, if you're just joining me, my guests are from Bay State Noble Hospital. We have Michelle LaPrade, who is the volunteer coordinator there, and Dr. Frank Horrigan, who is one of the volunteers. So today is National Receptionist Day. We were talking about the importance of receptionists and listening to a live person when you call. So in honor of them, we're going to listen to Blondie singing Call Me. We'll be back.
Come above your
Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:51. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. And in the studio this morning, we have Michelle LaPrade, who is the volunteer coordinator over at Bay State Noble Hospital, and Dr. Frank Horrigan, who is a retired internist who is volunteering at the hospital. You know, I just want to say, I think, we're talking about volunteering today. We're going to switch over to Dr. Horrigan so he can kind of give us his experience. But, I think that volunteering is so important. And I love the fact that we have some of our older adults who have taken that path. We were laughing when we heard the bump over there by Harry Rock. Harry Rock is, all of the work he does here is all volunteer. During the pandemic, Harry helped Pete and me. We wanted to start an educational program because we couldn't do we used to do a monthly lunch and learn at the senior center. Well, we couldn't do that during the pandemic. So we started doing this series called Westfield Council on Aging Presents. So it's a monthly educational program that we do here, and we air it on Channel 15, and Pete has everything bundled on YouTube. So we've had a whole parade of people, including Ron Bryan. He's come in and talked about the hospital and so forth. And Harry hosts that. Pete kind of just said to him one or two times, like, can you do this? And he kind of does it, Larry King style. So it's just, and I think my point is that, here was a guy who was director of the YMCA, probably didn't really see himself volunteering to host a cable television show in his retirement. And yet here we are. And so I think the message to people out there is, there are lots of different ways to volunteer. And even just within the hospital, Michelle, as you said, where, you're adding people. I mean, the whole idea of a greeter in the emergency department, I think is so necessary, because you talk about people's angst being like right through the roof. Well, when you come into the emergency department or your loved one comes in, I think, and it also taps into skills and talents that people may not even realize that they have. So, Frank, tell us a little bit about, you are a retired physician. You started volunteering at the hospital, and off air you were telling me a little bit about some of the different things that you've done. So we know that you're greeter when people come in, but you've also done some other things there. What have you done?
Well, for a long time, I worked with Jack Wolf in spiritual services, and we would do cold calls on patients, and sometimes they were interested, and sometimes they were not, and sometimes for those that did want that sort of service, they were so grateful for it, because they could sort of vent a little bit, share their feelings, and do so in what they knew was a receptive environment.
Yeah.
So that was a very useful service. I did work at one time over in the surgical daycare area, and that again is a kind of an intimidating area, because people are coming in there for procedures.
Yeah.
And you help get them registered, and you walk them to where they need to go. And that sort of sense of being helped and a certitude as to what's going on takes a lot of the stress off them. So those kinds of services are useful.
Yeah. I think from the patient's perspective, there's just so much concern, even if it's what's considered to be a relatively simple procedure, in the medical field. And that's, I think, the thing that we sometimes forget is from the medical perspective, the doctors and the nurses may be thinking, well, this is routine, But for a patient, well, it's not routine. If it's the first time you've ever had this done and you don't know what to expect and, you're concerned. Some people are just downright nervous and worried. And, some people are kind of like putting on the brave face. But I really think that just that initial sort of having somebody hold your hand and just kind of walk you through and just that the kind word and just sort of, take a breath. Boy, that makes all the difference in the world.
Well, and showing compassion and empathy for what the patient is going through.
Yeah.
And that's definitely a high priority for Bay State Noble Hospital is that our staff is treating them, and they absolutely do treat them with the highest level of compassion and empathy. And make it a good experience for our patients and their families while they are in our hospital. And the volunteers help to also provide that as well. And again, bring some of that anxiety down and make them feel comfortable while they're there.
Yeah. I think, Dr. Horrigan, you're going to remember that, years ago, you used to hear a lot of people talking about, especially for doctors, bedside manner, and some people would say, you'd say, oh, is that a good doctor? Well, not such a great bedside manner. Good surgeon, not a great bedside manner. Or great bedside manner, I'm not so sure about the other, but I felt really comfortable. So, it was, but I think we've come around to where we know how important bedside manner is, right? Would you agree?
It is. And interestingly, patients don't fall into one category because a lot of times they've already Googled what they're doing.
Yep.
And I think probably a driving principle is how would you like to be treated?
Yeah.
And it's one of those do unto others things.
Yeah.
And I think if you approach people with that sort of an attitude, it helps break the ice.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
And how many days a week now are you volunteering at Bay State Noble?
Right now, two.
Two morning? Is it mornings or afternoons or combination?
I usually do a 12 to 3 shift.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So usually that afternoon shift.
Yeah, and it's not a union thing. If it runs over a little bit,
you're okay. You're okay. Michelle, if someone wanted to, someone's watching, they're listening. You've planted that seed. They got the bug. What do they do? What's the next step? How would they get a hold of you, or what should they do?
Sure. So the first step is actually to fill out an application, which can be found online. It's baystatehealth.org/volunteer, and that's going to open up the main page for Bay State Health volunteering. And then if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see a list of the hospitals, and you just click on Bay State Noble Hospital, and that will open another page and give some role descriptions and information. But there's also a green Apply Now button. And if you click on that, it's going to open that application. You fill in your information and then hit the Save button to submit it, and it will come to me. If there are folks that prefer to have a paper copy or they have questions, they absolutely can give me a call.
Okay.
And my phone number is 413-571-0573, or you can just call the main switchboard line of the hospital and they'll connect you with me.
Just ask them for the volunteer coordinator.
Yes, ask for the volunteer coordinator.
If you forget Michelle's name, just ask for the volunteer coordinator.
Or volunteer services.
Okay.
And so once we have that, we do like to set up an interview to have the applicant come in. And I ask them a few questions, and then we talk about what they are interested in doing, because we want to make sure that our volunteers are feeling engaged and fulfilled with what they're doing while they are here in the hospital. That is definitely a top priority of mine.
That matching piece is really important, because if you feel like, well, I need you here, but the person's just not comfortable or that's not what they want to do, it's not going to work. It just isn't.
And this is where I tell the volunteers, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, please come talk to me, because it is my top priority to make sure that they are enjoying what they are doing.
And the nice thing is, as you pointed out before, there are a variety of roles.
Exactly.
So, you hate to see somebody just say, oh, this isn't working and walk away, as opposed to, that's not working over there.
Else.
Okay, wait a minute. Let's maybe, because, it's like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. And again, we find that at the senior center, not everyone is.
Sure.
And sometimes people will come to us after they've been put into one volunteer role and say, well, can I do that? That looks more fun,
that's happened.
And it's like, sure, okay. All right, we are out of time. My guests this morning have been Michelle LaPrade, who is the volunteer coordinator with Bay State Noble Hospital. If you are interested in volunteering, Michelle, can you give us your phone number again?
Sure. It is 571-0573.
All right. You can also call the main number at the hospital, ask for volunteer services or volunteer coordinator. You'll get Michelle, or you can go online. We can help you with that if you need help. Dr. Frank Horrigan, who is a volunteer, who is, the poster child of volunteering for the hospital, I think. So thank you both so much for joining us today. I will be back next week. It'll be the third Wednesday of the month. So my guest will be Jen Jafune, we like to call her our studio dietitian. So Jen will be doing her Food for Thought segment. We will see you next week. Have a good one.